Well, greetings, everyone. Nice to see you online. Can you hear? Okay, good. I'd like to tip this a little towards us so that we can see without turning too much, and I think there's enough still being able to see.
That should be.
Okay, that's already. Activities here, nice. So good morning, team. Charlotte, Kaiser, nice to see you. It's been a while. Julian, David, Tiffany, wow.
Tiffany.
Long time no see. Nice to see you. Nancy, Louise, in blue, matching blue, one above the other, at least on our screen. I'm sure that's intentional. Are you in your digs, Tiffany? Is this where you live?
Yeah.
Nice. Good for you. So, good morning officially. Good morning again. And it's nice to see you all. I want to talk about a few points that may be familiar, and even so, to put them in conversation inside you with each other, and also relate them to the practice that we do at 11. So it's quite famous that a wonderful, very short practice text known as the 3 Principal Aspects of the Path. What are those 3 principles? I want to mention them today and bring them into our conversation. And welcome. Tony, right? What? Will, I'm so sorry. Well, thank you. What are these 3 principal aspects? One is a certain kind of leaving, departure from one's ordinary samsaric routine. What Buddhists call samsara. You may have heard this translated as the definite decision to leave cyclic existence. And leaving cyclic existence has a lot of levels to it. And I want to suggest that at the very least, what we do when we sit down to practice is we make a decision that this is what we're going to do with our time right now. And probably we have needed to make that decision ahead of that moment so that we would in fact have some time to practice. Otherwise, as we all know, we get totally caught up in our particular samsara, the cycles of gotta do this, gotta get there, gotta rest, gotta watch TV, gotta get online. That's our cyclic existence, or part of it. So we part the waters, we sit down with a purpose. It's a small thing, but it's a very significant thing. It's a little different from saying, well, I guess I have 5 minutes to spare. No, we make a decision that this is important in our lives, and we'll sit. If it is 10, 15 minutes, 5 minutes on a regular basis, that you make a decision, I'm going to leave aside for now. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to worry about all the things that I'm worried about. At least I won't let that carry me away, if possible. I'm going to sit. And why am I going to sit? Because there's something I want to learn. Sitting is educational. I found a quote that I wrote down from actually a Rice student years ago when we did some kind of contemplative exercise. And the first comment that this person made was, oh, I didn't realize that meditation was educational. That's a big realization. We actually learn. And in learning, as science now tells us for the last 10 or 15 years, we change our brains. The activities that we do, prayer, meditation, wholesome conversation, watching horror films, whatever we do, affects our brains. More palpably, it affects our experience of being. So give yourself a kind of inner vacation and decide that you will sit. And decide that for that period of time, however long or short you're able to, you will be free. As free as you can be, with an intention to leave behind, for that period of time, the usual hustle and bustle that drives us through today. Does this sound familiar to anybody? I'm telling you my story, right? We all live with this. So that's the first principal aspect of the path. According to Tsongkhapa, is the retrospectively regarded as the founder of the Yellow Hat, so-called Geluk sect of Tibetan Buddhism, very powerful in Tibet, and also the newest one coming online, so to speak, in the 14th century, and he's regarded as the teacher of the first Dalai Lama. So Tsongkhapa is a very significant figure. First aspect, leaving behind cyclic existence. For a time, some layer of it. The second aspect is being in non-duality, having a non-dual mind. And that might sound like a tall order. And there are levels to it, which we can accomplish, actually, even in a simple practice, as we're about to do. First of all, being in a non-dual state means that we're in the present. We are not looking back to the past, we're not looking forward to the future. And if we begin to observe our own minds, we notice that that's actually most of what we do. Taking a walk, thinking about, what I have to do tonight, the stupid thing that I said yesterday, or the great thing that I said yesterday, and wow, I showed them, or just reflecting, and just being honest. That happens a lot. So, of course, when we're thinking about the past, thinking about the future, from the vantage point of the present, that's a certain kind of separation from what's going on. It's a certain kind of duality. Does that make sense? You're not here. You're not in the present. And you're not in the past or the future either, because that's impossible. We're always in the present. Everything in our lives happens in the present. We are born in the present. We live, you not be aware of it. Everything that we are in contact with is in a direct way, direct experience, is in the present. And we have one moment, and then we get another one. There's always a present tense for us, but we miss it a lot. So that's one thing we can do. And when we, for example, observe our breath, sense into our body, which we do at the beginning of each meditation session, we're in the present. Anything that we're in contact with direct experience, with our sense consciousness, with our body consciousness, which is a touch consciousness, right? If I feel that, I feel it in the present. If I think, I slapped my knees a minute ago, I wonder what people think about that. Maybe they want to slap their knees. I used to like to play patty cakes. The mind can just run, right? None of that's in the present. And I notice that it feels kind of good, even for a moment, to get off the wheel, the rat race, right? Just to get a little bit of rest from that. And it's a big moment to recognize, because you recognize, for this moment, I was kind of free. That's what Buddhist practice is talking about. We can get free from all the circumstances that arise because they just arise on account of circumstances. You know, as we walked in today, we shared what a beautiful day it was. And then Leslie said, well, it rained yesterday, before, and now it's beautiful. And then, yeah, and in fact, if it hadn't rained, it wouldn't be such a beautiful, fresh day. Conditioned circumstances. Noticing that helps us to break down the sense of solidity, and therefore is a step towards softening the sense of separation and otherness, what Buddhists call duality. Does that make sense? So you're relaxed. That's very important. Also very pleasant. And in the present. And then, for example, we say hum, or you start a recitation, or you start to watch your breath. In every case, you can't help but notice, just to speak of hum, because that's part of the practice that we'll do, that there was a silence. And then you took a breath and pushed some air through your throat. Hong, hong. The hong didn't exactly come out of nowhere. It comes due to certain conditions. And knowing that it comes through certain conditions makes it a little less seem like it's self-sufficient and just popped out, you know, of its own accord, which of course we know it didn't, since we ourselves are saying it. At the same time, it's a lesson in dependent arising. It emerged because you made a decision, you pushed air through your throat, and everybody else is doing rather the same thing, and so we get a big hung sound in the room, which is not just your own sound, which is everybody's sound, dependent arising. So dependent arising is like the slogan, the central core of Buddhist philosophy, and the central core or truth about our own experience. Everything we come into contact with is caused, conditioned, arises because of certain circumstances, happens because something just happened before it that made it happen, whatever language you want to use that works for you. Yeah, there was rain, and you know, the sun after the rain. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. Did you still, Tiffany, do you know that song? It's just our generation? It's one of the first songs I learned, right? What a teaching that was, I guess. Now I realize, oh, I was being taught that the rain isn't forever. We often think it is. A really cloudy day goes on and on and on. But it's not. In fact, it's setting up the causes for, what do we say? April showers bring May flowers. Of course, in Houston, January or February flowers bring March flowers. Anyway, you get the point. These flowers come about because of causes and conditions. Everything does. Everything is, in that sense, alive with the dynamism of cause and condition process. That's good news because things change. The rain will lead to sunshine. It also means that eventually the clouds will also come over the sun once more. Our lives, right? So once we're in the present in this way, which we do by establishing our seat, as you know, the 3 pillars, preserving the breath. Hum, hum. You can feel that just naturally your mind is united with the sound hum, isn't it? You don't have to do anything really. You're making the sound. You're hearing the sound, and your mind is one with the sound. That's a non-dual state. It's a little different from, am I singing too loud? My voice is cracking. When are we going to stop? How long am I going to do this? Okay, that's not in a unified state with the sound. But you could surrender that kind of thinking, or at least feel like you're willing to let go of whatever is ready to run through your mind right now. But never mind, I'll think about that later. Decision. Decisions are important. We are doing this intentionally. We're not sitting down to say, well, whatever. It's true that we don't control what happens when we sit down. We may have an intention that is not fulfilled. That's fine, actually. That's, in some sense, we have an intention, we sit, and then what happens after that is really not for us to worry about. But the intention is very important. So, okay, and it involves, again, a kind of substrata of leaving behind cyclic existence. I'm willing not to continue worrying about my conversation this afternoon. I'm willing to let that dissolve into my basic space, really, dissolve into space. Where does it go when it dissolves? Never mind. We focus on sensing into the sound. And that's enough for our mind to feel unified with sound. And that's a good beginning for a non-dual state, right? We're letting go of the usual subject-object thing, which is a kind of separation, a kind of separateness, a kind of aloneness in a way. I think we have talked on other occasions about how a certain kind of sense of separation from your own deepest being, your own deepest intention, from other people, from the planet, from different kinds of attitudes that you might want to have. The list would go on, but it's a source of suffering, a source of pain. So being able to unify, become whole. We are fragmented. In this culture, in this age, especially we are fragmented. We talk about multitasking, even though we are told also by those who study the brain, it's not good for us, and it's not efficient. But who doesn't do it? You're on the phone, you're on the computer, fixing pages in your desk, and then you wonder why you're frazzled at the end of the day. You know, we are in the tradition of Dzogchen, the great completeness. Completeness, sometimes translated as the great perfection. It's a perfection in the sense that everything is complete. You know, like you plan to have some guests over, and before they come, you do a lot of arranging, and you set the table, and whatever cutlery you're putting out, and food is prepared, and then you're ready, right? And there's a moment, let them come, I'm ready. It's because everything is complete. There's nothing more that you have to do or worry about. It's complete, it's done. It's a sense of wholeness. So one of the things that can happen in this kind of practice, in many kinds of practice, is that we accomplish a sense of a certain kind of wholeness. We're not running after a thought, chasing after some project that we have to accomplish. We will do that when we need to, when we get up. But we're allowing ourselves to be at ease, be present, and be whole. So the leaving aside cyclic existence is like the preparation, deciding I'm going to get off my phone and get on my cushion or my seat and practice. The three principal aspects of the path are the compassionate compassion. When we practice, as we know, we always begin by setting our intention. We set our intention, may all beings benefit from this practice. May all beings, through my practice, may somehow it serve for me to actually effectuate in my life the furthering of beings' happiness and the causes of happiness. May it, now that I know how to be in the present, and let go of some of my own concerns, some of the time, I'll have more space for wishing others to be free of suffering, wishing others to be free of pain. Right? So as you know, we sing that compassionate motivation is the ground, the animator, the starting point of our actual practice, always. Then from that, so then the heart is a little open already, and that makes it more possible to relax, be in the present, and maybe even get a little bit of a taste of non-duality, or at least less clinging to the solidity, apparent solidity of the body and so on. And then when we close our meditation, we dedicate it. We dedicate it to the actual awakening, enlightenment of all living beings. That's bodhicitta. And we've had many courses, and we'll continue to have courses on bodhicitta if you're doing the foundational practices. That's a daily practice, really. So, compassion, some kind of non-dual state. Could put it another way, say a more relaxed state, relaxing the tension with which we often anticipate the future or reflect on the past. Letting go of that means softening the sense of non-duality. And bodhicitta. So these three, which are the principal aspects of the path.
You just said compassionate. You said compassion, duality, and bodhicitta. It's a renunciation.
No, actually, in the three principal aspects of the path, it's those three. Renunciation comes first. The three principal.
You said compassion and bodhicitta. You didn't.
No, that's how it is. I'm quoting Chandrakirti. I know I introduced it before as one of the three principal aspects of the path. It is an essential thing, but at least in this quote that I'm thinking of, he's talking about the compassion, non-dual state, and actual bodhicitta. So we know these as the three noble principles. We begin a session with a wish that it serve all beings, also ourselves. You are one of all the beings, right? So compassion includes oneself. That's important. It's not selfish to include yourself. In fact, it's a great learning experience to include yourself because it's through our own pain that we recognize how awful pain is. And then we realize that we're not the only ones who experience it. That just as we really being hungry, and most of us probably have not been hungry in the way that many people throughout the world are hungry right now. Not just throughout the world, in Houston, right? That's why we have food banks. When we know what that's like, we are better able to sympathize with the pain of other beings and to wish for them to be free of it. So we leave aside cyclic existence, hoping to do something to create a beingness in ourselves that wants to help living beings. We're less separate from our experience by being in the present. And we will close it by aspiring that our practice lead to our own awakening and to our furthering the awakening of others. And we can do all those things. Come in. If we can do all of those things actually in the simple practice that we do today. So perhaps we'll take a little break.
Yeah.
And then I'll remind you again of what we just said, especially so you folks who just came in will hear it and see how it relates to the practice that we're doing. Have you been here before? Have we met? Well, welcome then. What's your name?
Tanya.
Tanya.
Marcia, I'm usually online.
Oh, you're on. That's right. That's right. How nice that you came.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brought a guest, so
Thank you. Marcia brought Tanya. What?
I'm pretty open-minded.
You're pretty open-minded. Okay.
She takes me to church. I was like, well, come with me too. John.
Oh, beautiful. You could do it all right on this campus.
I said, are you sure this is the area?
Yeah, yeah.
I said, yes, just keep following.
And how about you? Have we met?
I'm Lori. I don't think.
Oh, you're Lori.
Yeah.
I have heard about you.
Yeah, so
Oh, how nice.
One time in person and I guess twice on Zoom.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for coming today. It's lovely to see you. Of course, you can move your chair if you're not, if you don't mind. Yeah, okay. The cushions are available if you're comfortable on a cushion. How did you hear about us, Marcia?
I heard about y'all from my friend Jessica Winslow. I was at Shambhala, Austin.
Ah.
And since I lived here in Houston, Jessica and I think his name was Ed told me about Dawn Mountain.
Oh, how nice of them.
And so this was last year, so that's when I started coming online.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
just find a sangha in my hometown.
Oh, yes. Good idea. Good idea. How did you hear about us, Will?
I think Googling.
Okay, Google. What did you Google for?
Tibetan sanghas.
Ah. Is that what you put in, Tibetan Sangha?
You know, I don't remember exactly
Okay.
what I put in.
Okay. Good.
I'm glad I found you all.
I'm glad you did too. You've been here a couple of times. Once
Yeah,
at
come
least.
to the morning